this is Sophie Lawson from sophielawson.com, and this is episode 110 of the Sophie Art Podcast, which is a little podcast that I do about the art and things. And this one is going to be all about website development. It's the week 1 of my website development diary, where what I'm doing for the month of May is I'm going to be working on my website, and each week I do a little tiny podcast talking about the things I've learnt. So I've taken loads of notes for this one, and what I'm going to do on this, it's going to be very rough and raw. I'm just going to go through my notes, read everything I've wrote, if I can read them, because they're very scribbly. I'll read what I've wrote and then just talk about it. So that's basically what the podcast is going to be all about. This week's inspirational quote is a really beautiful one. It's from an artist I was watching on Instagram. They did a little video which popped up at the top like an Instagram live. The artist is called Ada Wong. I'll put links and everything in the show notes, which you can find at sophielawson.com, and also you can find it at youtube.com/sophielawson. But this little quote, it's all about art, but it kind of fits in beautifully with website development, because one of the things I've been noticing is balance. If you're on the computer too much, I get really out of balance. So the quote is about that, really, which is cool. So little Dennis, the co-host, is here, and he's eager for this one. He can't wait. So, ding! In we go into this week's little podcast about website development. That's my chair, that is. Squeaky chair. So, my little notes, what I did first, before I did anything, was I just listed on a piece of paper all the little things I could think of that I wanted to do, which I can't do at the moment because I need to do them after other stuff. And I got them all on a sheet of paper, sort of like emptied my mind so that I could focus on what I wanted to do in the short term. So I got like a page of stuff like downloading and installing a certain plugin, putting 301 redirects for all of the podcast episodes, adding an FAQ to the about page, little things like that. And then what I did was I said, right, what am I going to do first? So for this week, all I wanted to do was focus on trying to get all of my realistic pencil drawings reformatted for the website. So what I had to do on that was I had to go through each page, deleting loads of text which was turned into gibberish because of the old theme. And I had to reformat all the text, put all the images in, and make things look a little bit prettier, really, which is quite cool. And I also had to make all the thumbnails. So what I did, I just listed all the things I wanted to do, and I started thinking in my head of ideas of how to set out the page. So I was thinking of having, I wanted the image to be the main focus of that page, and then on each page I'd have 4 little work in progress images, the title of the drawing, a little story about the drawing, the tools that I used, a quote from the person I've drawn, if it's a person, or if it's an animal, it's got like a quote about the animal, and then a little button at the bottom, so that you can go back to more of my drawings, really. And then what I was thinking was, so that's going to be pink because it's art, but in the inspirational bit it's going to be blue. So I've already started thinking in my head how each section's going to look. Even though I'm not doing the inspirational bit yet, I wanted to make sure it would look alright with the other bits. So then once I'd determined what I was going to do, I just sat down and each day I did it. So the first day that I started this little diary thing was on Sunday, which I've said is day 1, and that was Sunday the 3rd of May. So in my little notes, what have I put here? I've put, started playing with paint splatter. So what I did was, I started getting distracted. My mind started saying, I want to put this little paint splatter on the images, instead of focusing on formatting each page, because the thing is, formatting each page is a little bit boring, really. It's a very repetitive task. And so I think my mind wanted to do the fun bits, but those fun bits are going to come later. It's like I can't really do the fun bits until I've done the boring bits, which is a bit of a shame really. So I noticed that my mind kept wanting me to do the fun bits, and I had to keep saying no. In the end I said no, and I focused, and it says I've put here, I had to stop myself and focus. Also I started moving around the logo. It's almost like a form of procrastination or something. I started messing about with things which I shouldn't have been. I've put here, I kept faffing about with little details. But I did upload the theme and the plugins. Oh, and I've put here music rules. This is a theme that went throughout the whole week, because I was playing my trance music really nice and loud, and it was really allowing me to get into the flow. Because what happens is, after you've done a few of these pages, you format it a few, what happens is you get into like the flow. I talked about that on last week's episode, but the music really helps with that. But it's also a form of a distraction, because I've put here on day 2 I started drumming, because I got like a little drum, an African drum. What I do is I'll play that at the end of the episode, because what I do is as I'm playing my music, if a tune comes on that I love, I can't help but stop formatting the website, and I just start playing my drum, and I'm playing my drum with the rhythm of the music. Not very well, but it feels amazing. So I'll put a little clip of that at the end of the episode. But that was kind of a form of distraction at first, and then I realised, which goes into this week's inspirational quote, I realised that it's important to take breaks. So these little drumming sessions acted as like a break. So instead of sitting there for 4 hours straight, like editing the website, which would have hurt my hands, because I did notice I was waking up some mornings with my fingers a little bit tense, like crampy feeling. So I think playing the drums was a nice way of taking a little 5-minute break every sort of 40 minutes or something. So I put, it is important as you move, you do, what have I here? I can't read some of this. He added colours, couldn't help myself. I've said I've added colours to something. Yeah, I couldn't help myself. In other words, I just decided to do some of the fun bits. Maybe you do need a little bit of fun bits in there. So what else have I done? Easy to get lost in this. Yeah, I noticed that. I don't know what it is about this working on websites, but the time seems to vanish. I really enjoy it, but also something I noticed this week was once I stop doing it, my mind feels very sort of busy, and it becomes very hard to do things like meditation. My meditations this week have been very, I suppose, distracted. Yeah, my mind has still been busy, even when I've stopped doing this stuff. It's quite weird, that. I've also put here bad back, bad posture, bad eyes. What I noticed was my body started talking to me. And it sounds a bit weird, but my body started saying, I'd find myself, my body would say, straighten your back. So I'd end up straightening my back. It's almost as if I was started slouching, my body was reminding me to make sure that I'm in a nice posture. And it also did it with my eyes, because my eyes were starting to ache looking at the screen, but it was because I hadn't put my computer glasses on. So what happened was, again, my eyes said, you forgot to put your glasses on. So I've got these computer glasses. You can get them on Amazon for about £10. They're probably the best thing I ever bought, because I used to get eye strain looking at monitors and stuff for a long time. These computer glasses, you could stare at a screen for like hours and hours and your eyes don't ache. So I think that was probably one of the best things I ever bought. That I've put here day 1, white spaces at tops of pages. It's just loads of little things. I played with the footer space. Yeah, again, I started playing about with little things like playing around with the space on the footer, moving the logos around. I installed that plugin, which is amazing because it actually allows you to put 4 columns on a row. So I can have 4 little images in a row now. So the theme I'm using is a WordPress theme called Cadence. It's Kadence, and they've also got a little plugin which works with the regular WordPress called Cadence blocks. I'll put links and everything in the show notes. But that little plugin is amazing. It allows you to do really nice things like really nice buttons and just really quite sexy little things, I suppose. But what I'd noticed on the night of Sunday was when I turned the computer off and I said, right, I'm done for the day, I quickly loaded the website up on my mobile, on my little iPhone, and I noticed that all the buttons were the wrong size. So what I had to do was I quickly turned the computer back on and I had to change the size of the buttons on the mobile. But again, this is why that little Cadence blocks plugin is amazing. It lets you independently edit how everything looks on the mobile. So that's quite cool, that. It means you can you can make it look really nice on your computer, but it'll also look really nice on mobile devices and stuff. So day 2 was Monday, and what did I do on this one? I was starting to notice little sort of time-saving tips. So what I'm doing is I'm doing the same thing over and over and over and over again on each page. And I started noticing that if you're putting images into the page, like you've got that row of 4 columns, so you've got 4 little images next to each other. If you click on the image on the first column, what happens is the data that you enter in, it goes to the right of it, which means you can't then click on the button, you can't click on the image next to it. So what you have to do is you have to click on the third image and then back on the second image. But what I noticed was if you instead started on the 4th image, because the text went to the right of it, it meant you only had to click on the 3rd image. So you could click on the 4th, the 3rd, the 2nd, the 1st. Whereas if you went the other way, which is like being a Western person, the natural thing to do is go from left to right on a page. But if you do that, you've got to click 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 4. I know it's only an extra 2 clicks, but those extra 2 clicks, you're doing that 40 times, it ends up costing you about 2 or 3 minutes. And it's loads of little things like that. And that's what happens. The more you do something, repetitive, the more you start picking up these little tips. So that's why, when you first start doing this, it might take you, say, 20 minutes to edit one page. But by the end of it, because you got so into it, so in the rhythm of it, you can do it in about like 10 minutes, which is quite amazing. So what else did I do? I started adding URL to the images. This is when I started drumming. I said I've finished 10 minutes later. So I finished 10 minutes later. So I set a timer, it was actually 3 hours to start with. It's now gone up to 4 hours, but I now allow myself a little bit of time for drumming. So I'm still doing about 3.5 hours a day, and any more than that, it's just too much because it affects my sleeping and stuff. So I've got to get the balance between stuff, and I'm still doing my draw a day, but instead of doing my draw a day at the start of the day, what I normally used to do was finish work, get home at 9 a.m, I'd go straight into my draw a day, and then I'd go into studying. What I'm doing now is I'm going straight into the website, and then after the website I do my draw a day, because it's much more relaxing to do my drawing. So it means when I then go into my meditation later, I've got more time between working on the website, looking at the screen, and meditating. So it's like that little drawing bit, which takes about an hour, it just sort of relaxes me a bit, and it's the perfect thing to do, I think, after spending all that time on the website. So what I also did, which this is less is more, I want this new website to be a lot more simple and sort of focused. So what I did, the old site had all the images of each drawing, little bits of text, and then you had a load of tools. So it listed all the tools I used. But when I did a few pages and I looked and I thought, I don't think I want this. So what I did was I tried deleting all the tools that I put on there, and it looked just a lot cleaner. So what I've done now is I've removed all the tools that I used from each page, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a separate page called recommended tools, and that'll be underneath the articles, and that's going to be one page full of the tools. So all my traditional drawing tools are going to be on that page now. So what it means is each drawings page is actually focused more on the drawing instead of having all this extra stuff. Like, yeah, I suppose it's just like I'm asking myself, does this really need to be on here? So the only thing with doing that was I'd already done about 10 pages, so I had to go back through those 10 pages and like re-edit them. But there was a lot of that. There was a lot of going back and forth between these things. And I said here, I've removed the tools, less is more, and it was just too busy. So day 3, I started realising that because I had a day job. I had a day job at Royal Mail for 12 years, and what I had to do was every single night, because it was a night shift job. Every night for 12 years, I would go into work, and all I would do is I would sit at a desk and type in thousands and thousands of people's addresses into the computer screen, or with my mouse draw a little box around the addresses. So you would just do that same repetitive task for 8 hours a night, and I did that for 12 years. And I was sitting here and I started realising it's almost like that job was training. It was like training for working on the website, because that's what you're doing. When you're working on a website, especially because I've got about 400, 500 pages I've got to edit, and there was 40 drawings I needed to edit, and I realised that what I was doing was I was doing the same thing over and over and over again for hours. So I noticed that job was kind of like training, which I think is quite cool, because it is a mindset thing doing that. It is a mindset. There was a point towards the end where I sort of started losing the will to live, though, because it does get a bit. There gets to a point where you just want it to finish. So I'll talk about that in a minute, because that was on day 5, I think. But on day 3, this was when I really realised that the body was telling me about the backache because of my posture and the computer glasses. What else have I got here? Oh yeah, doing images. So what I did was, there's this thing called alt text, and what it is an image on your website can have like a bit of text associated with it. So what happens is Google, I think it's Google, stuff like that, what they'll do is they'll look at that image and the words in that image will sort of allow it to be put into search. So let's say you've got an image of, say, a cat. If you put the alt text saying realistic pencil drawing of a cat, if you put that into the image, it's going to like pop into the Google with it. But what I noticed was, at first I was doing, every time I put an image in, I would do it separately. I'd attach the text to it. But again, like a little time-saving tip, is what I did was, instead, I just went into my website, I got all the images of cats on the one screen, and I cut and pasted the same text into each one. So what happens now is, basically I did that in about, let's say, 2 minutes, whereas before it was taking me about 30 seconds for each one, but there was like, say, 10 of them, so it's going to be, what's that, 10 lots of 30 seconds, 3 minutes, isn't it? No, it's not. How many is that? 30 seconds, 2, 4, 6, 8, so that was going to take 10 minutes, yeah, but when you do it all at once, it only takes like 2 minutes. So again, it's little things that you start realising to save time. And I've put it here, group the same tasks together equals seconds quicker, but it all adds up, which I think is quite cool, that. I wanted to help, oh yeah, at the end I said I wanted to keep going, so I did an extra 30 minutes. I'm trying not to do too much extra, because I know it'll mess me up later on. So Wednesday was a day off, because I realised I just felt like I needed a day with nature, so I spent the day down Saltram with my mum, which was beautiful. Probably one of the favouriteest days of the year so far, that. Me and my mum, we sat on the beach, we had a little Belgian bun cake, and we just sat and watched the water. We were down there for about 4 hours, I think, and the water was, it was beautiful. And actually, you know when you skim those pebbles across the water, I did that, and I must have skimmed it, and it must have been about 10 times it jumped. It was amazing. I don't think I've ever done it that much before. It's really cool. And then day 5, which was Thursday, it was back into, that was actually yesterday, so that was the last day. So it's the fourth day of working on the website. I actually managed to get all of the realistic pencil drawings reformatted, which is amazing because that was my sort of goal, but I wasn't sure if I'd be able to do it. So I was able to do it. On day 3, I got 11 drawings formatted, and yesterday, day 5, I got 16 done. So that shows you how much faster you get over time. Because I was trying to work out how many pages can I actually do in a day. Because in moving forward, when I start doing more of the other stuff, I'll know, like, I'll be able to look and say, well, I think I'm going to be able to do about 10 of these, and I'll be able to start working out how long it would maybe take. So I ended up doing 5 extra yesterday. And what else did I do? This is when I wrote down the body talks to us. I said draw after, it's more relaxing before meditation to do drawing. And I said, one of the things that was a little bit of it was costing time yesterday was the older drawings. They needed updated stories, because I was reading the stories and I was thinking, it was either I've learnt something new now, which I want to put in there, or it was something that I thought, that's wrong. It's like I thought I was saying something right at the time, but it was wrong. So I've sort of gone and formatted the little stories as well, but that was costing me a bit of time, because when you're trying to do writing, it unsettles the rhythm, I suppose. I've put it here, dancing feels so good, and I've put it raises your vibes. It really does. It's when the music is pumping, especially if you're drumming, but even if you're not, just dancing. Because what happened was I was drumming, and I was getting so into it, I started dancing. And it was just, I suppose what happens is I tend to forget how powerful dancing is. It raises your vibes. So what I do now is I do a little bit of drumming and a little bit of dancing in between working on the website, which I think is cool. Something I noticed, because I put it here, I started to lose the will to live. I think that's quite funny, but it's because what happened was I could see that I was getting towards the end of these realistic drawings, and I started getting a bit impatient, and I started rushing, and I started messing up, so I had to keep pushing the undo button. But what happened was I messed up, and I didn't realise that this theme on the top left corner has got an undo button. So at first I thought, oh no, I redid that page, and then the next one I did it again, I messed up, and then I realised that there was an undo button at the very top. So I thought, oh, that's amazing. But what I noticed was, like, there's an affirmation on my website which isn't on there yet. It's going to be on there probably next week. I think I'm going to work on the affirmations, and one of them, it's a little Sophie, my little character, and the affirmation is, when you rush, you delay. And I really noticed that this week, because that last day I started rushing and I started messing up, it was making me make mistakes. So I was actually costing myself more time fixing these mistakes because I was rushing. Whereas if I'd slowed down, I would have actually gone faster. It's quite weird that. So, I also had to add the videos. So I've actually got, on my camera, I've got 40 videos of each of these little drawings. I recorded that last year sometime, and I've only edited, I think, 6 of them. So that means I've got about 30 odd videos for each of these little drawings that I haven't even put onto the website yet. But the ones that are on there, I had to start putting those in. So that cost me a little bit of time. And that was really it. So the main little quote I got here from this week is, there's a balance between working on the site and also like doing other things like for me, it's meditation and drawing, because it goes into this week's inspirational quote, which is amazing. And he talks about you got to take breaks, the importance of taking breaks. So I think that was the main thing I learnt this week, because I went into this week thinking I'm going to have 8 hours a day. I can focus on the website. In reality, it's actually about 4 hours, because then I can still do my reading, which is taking about an hour. Because I've noticed I've done more reading this week, which is nice. So I'm doing an hour of reading, an hour of meditation, an hour of drawing, and then a little hour I can watch YouTube videos or something. So that's 4 hours seems like my sort of sweet spot, I suppose. The book I've been reading this week is a book called The Martian, and I've almost finished it. I never read books this quickly, but this book, and it's a novel called The Martian, it's amazing. It's about this bloke who gets stranded on Mars, and the story is, what's going to happen to him? Is he going to survive? It's amazing, that is. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what happens. And what it's done is, again, it's made me realise that I don't read enough novels. All of my books, I would say 97% of my books are books about lucid dreaming, art books, and spiritual books. So it's all like fact-based books. I think I need to start reading more novels, because it's fun and it gives you story ideas and stuff as well. But basically that is it for this week's little development diary. What am I going to be doing for next week? I haven't decided yet. Saturday is going to be, I did actually pick up a little PlayStation Vita. So Saturday I'm going to play 3 hours of Vita, and I'm going to watch a couple of hours of Netflix. So Saturday is now my day of rest, and then Sunday will be when I get back into the website. And I'm either going to go into the blog section. No, I'm not. What I've got to do is, I've done all the realistic pencil drawings. What I've got to do now is spend a day sorting out the art, the rest of my art. So the sketchbook and my little Sophie character, and also the affirmations. So my little digital drawings. I think they're going to take probably 2 days, I reckon. So hopefully by the end of next week, for next week's podcast, my art section will be completely finished. I think then I'm going to move into either sorting out the pages, like my art links, so the page with a load of art links, or maybe the About Me page, or maybe my recommended tools. I'm not sure. But I'm not going to go into the blog yet. I think the blog will be the week after, because I can tell that's going to be a really big job, that one. So, but basically that is it for this little week's development diary thing. Website development diary, week 1. Little Dennis has finished it. He enjoyed that, I think. I hope he did. It's really cool, that. I like doing this. So I hope you enjoyed that. All that's left is this week's inspirational quote. Really love this quote. It's maybe one of my favourites. So the quote goes to an artist called Ada Wong, and the quote is, "You can buy a new pen, you can't buy a new hand. Take breaks." So what he does is, this Ada Wong, on Instagram Live, every now and again, he does little Instagram videos, live things at the top. They come up at the top like little stories. So he was sitting there sketching away. He does little anime, like fine art, line art, sort of like anime manga type characters. Really beautiful work. And what happens is you can ask questions. So somebody asked a question about, what was it? They asked something about something, talking about breaks. So he ended up talking about taking breaks. That was it. He went off to take a break. Yeah. And then what he said was, he said, you can buy a new pen, you can't buy a new hand. In other words, you could sit there for 20 hours doing this drawing, but you're going to hurt your hand, and you'll end up damaging it in the long run. So it's like, in the short term, doing 20 hours of drawing you're going to get a lot done. In the long term, you're going to lose your hand. So you'll actually do more by doing less, which I think that's amazing. And it's exactly the same with this website. So that's why I started sort of breaking it into little smaller chunks really. Instead of doing 8 hours a day, I was doing about 3 to 4. It worked a little bit better, I think. So this week's inspirational quote: you can buy a new pen, you can't buy a new hand. Take breaks. Ada Wong. Ada Wong, Wong, Wong. Ada Wong. I like that name, Ada Wong.